Hey everybody, I am Tommy Scoble, and you are on the lifeboat. What's happening? Hope you dig the hat. Hey, Anna, good to see you. Kiwi Nan, how are you? Dee Dee Razzle Dazzle, Cooter by the Lake. Good to see you, Cooler by the Lake. How are you? Third Eye Open in Carnosol. How are you? Glad that you all are here. Let's see who else we got. Shannon Smith, good to see you. West Coast Fancy Nancy, changed that avatar up. Just Joan, good to see you. I like it. I like it. Tampa B, wouldn't be a show without you. Milwaukee, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. You know what, people? Cooler by the Lake, thank you so much. That's a cool thing to say. Says, great Diddy conversation on surviving the survivor tonight. What a pleasant surprise. You know, it was a pleasant surprise. It was. I got a text message. I'm sorry, I got a phone call. I'm not lying to you. 90 seconds before he went live. And he said, you've watched me on Fridays. I said, I have. He said, Phil can't make it, man. Can you pull, a show right now? Or he said, can you pull a show? I said, yeah, I'd love to join you. Hey, Laura Lou, Dennis, good to see you. Denise, sorry. Can't think of a better name still. Elizabeth Frazier, Rona Cooley. So I said, yeah. Let's do that. I love going on STS. When are you going? And he said, right around the time I hit end, we'll be live. And I honestly, I was able to hit the button, and I was about the time the screen was coming up. The intro for Surviving the Survivor was going off. Hello, Christine Baker. Good to see you. Christy Hughes, how are you? I saw you earlier over on JD Delay's channel. Good to see you there. Brenda, how are you? My other's keeper. There you are. Trixie, good to see you. Hello, Mary Barons. Curtis, how are you? Abrusti. So this leaves me in the middle of, if you watch me on there, you'll see me frantically working my phone because I had appointments today and I knew how long Surviving the Survivor was going to go. So I phoned one gentleman who said to me, we can push this to 5, but you got to be here before 5. So it made for a really, really rugged day today. And I'll tell you what, in about a week, if all goes well. Hey, Kiwi Nan, if all goes well in the next week, I'll tell you what the hell this appointment was because it was pretty odd. Subi, good to see you. Jammin', it's also the reason that I'm going with the chapeau this evening. Katie, good to see you. Caddy, sorry, good to see you. Your favorite hat. My eyes right now are you ever go and I don't like the way they look. That's that. We'll just leave it at that. But in the next couple of days, we'll get into all of this. I had a ton of fun over there. Janine, good to see you. You know what was awesome? Jamie Palmer, how are you? Purple Groovy, how are you? Hey, Tony Suter. What was really awesome about this was when it was over, I don't know if you all saw it, or so I know some of you did. When it was over, he said to me, I was trying to run out the door, and he's like, I'm kind of famous for not sticking around after interviews, right? You've probably seen this number before, right? I just kind of shut the screen and leave. It's kind of how I've always done it. Caroline, good to see you. Ladybug, what's happening? Third Eye Open. So he said, don't shut the computer. I want to talk to you. And as it turns out, the FBI agent and myself exchanged contact information in hopes of doing some stuff together in the future, which is really an absolute trip because if you were watching, this cat's specialty, before anybody starts spreading rumors, it's my water bottle, his specialty was bank robbery. So this is right before we ended. He said, I'd really like to talk to you. I said, yeah, I bet we know some of the same people. But it was a lot of fun. It really was. It was a great show. If you guys didn't see it, it was, you ever just get really lucky in life? Today was one of those days. For the mods, and of you, of course, first live with JD. Oh, no way. That was your first JD live. Tell me that's not a freaking experience, isn't it? I'm sorry, man. I dig the guy's content. I really do. And I know that he's rough. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't pull a lot of punches. Chrissy Never in Newton, good to see you. He speaks it exactly how he sees it. And you know what? It's worked for him beautifully. If I told everybody everything I thought, I think I'd probably have 2 subscribers. Becky, good to see you. So I tend to knock the edges off of some of my content. but he's just one of the most genuine cats on YouTube. I think it's why he's growing the way he's growing. If you guys have never checked out JD Delay, if he's not your cup of tea, you're going to know in about 40 seconds. It's not something that you're going to have to spend an awful lot of time dealing with. Brucey says the FBI agent was a pro. Thanks again, Christy Hughes. I really appreciate you. The FBI agent was a pro. And one of the things that we were talking about after we went off the air is federal prisons are a lot worse than state prisons. People say, oh, if you go to the feds, you're so lucky, right? You're going to club fed. And it's not the truth, right? It's the exact opposite. State joints are a whole lot easier. Not easier as in, there's a lot of violence in state. But I'm talking about there's no amenities at all in the feds. They got rid of all of them a long time ago. They just tightened it up, right? So because they could pass a bill in Congress, right? And what happened literally, this is actually kind of fascinating. There was a gentleman who committed a crime against the nephew of a senator, the niece of a senator. Took her life. Took her across state lines, killed her, took her life. Low life, right? Hey, Pat Jonas, B. Hendricks, good to see you. Laura Lou, this guy's a low life. And he writes to the senator with a picture of him in his cell playing a video game saying, I'm loving life. Really appreciate all you've done for us. Zimmerman, I believe is the guy's name. The Zimmerman bill then got passed and they took the weight piles. They took the TVs. They took the video games. They took Playboy. Can't have a picture of a naked woman. They took everything that they could take out of the feds all at once. They tightened it up. I heard stories from the old timers about what it was like. I never saw it. By the time I got there, no one was smoking. No one was doing anything. Hello, Robert. They really had tightened up the reins on the Bureau of Prisons. I'm not complaining about that for the record. I'm of the firm belief that if you go to prison, the idea is you're supposed to be punished, right? And I think that losing your connections to the street, losing your ability to do the things that the people on the street can do, right? That's one of the punishments. So I don't think inmates should be online. CBC, good to see you. I really believe that, man. I bet that guy was popular, said Laura Lou. You know, it's really funny. That was the first thing I said. I go, bro, is he dead? Like when I first heard the story, I'm like, they removed this guy from Earth, right? He can't still be with us. Kestrel 42, how late are you? 7 minutes and 40 seconds. I think you're doing just fine. Heard where Diddy is. I hope he rots. Been a victim of a certain things. And this scumbag been doing for 30 to 40 years. Hope justice for his victims. Becky, I'm going to make you a promise right here on the lifeboat. The federal government has a case against this guy that's going to blow the minds of everybody that sees it, including the 12 jurors who are going to sit in that room. I don't care where they find these people, on what side of the earth. I don't care what they're into. They could be hip hop fans. When you see the amount of evidence that they're going to pull out against this guy, the FBI, you made a great point today. You know, a good question. Why do you haul out 1,000 bottles of lube? Right. And I'm not making a joke. I'm being dead serious about this one. This isn't a joke. Why do you do that? Why would you take 1,000 bottles out? Right. You could easily photograph 1,000 bottles in situ, right? Wherever it was in the house. And that would probably make the point. Yeah. But it wouldn't, because if you give a prosecutor an opportunity to pick up one of those bottles and say, how many people do you think could be victimized with one of these? And then go set it on the table with the 999 other bottles. And it paints a picture of what this cat was doing. You feel me? Tina Serlin, good to see you. Sweet Liberty. This is an ugly, that's an ugly thing. And I think, I think that it gives you a photo of where this is going to go. The amount of evidence, the number of witnesses, the people that they're going to call in, there's not going to be any doubt in anybody's mind that this cat is really, really guilty of the things that he did. Robert, you caught JD Delay's show tonight? Like I said, if it's the first time you're seeing it, JD's different. He has, especially if you've been hanging out here, right? I'm a little bit, I'm probably a little bit slower and a little bit less intense, but I dig it. I really do. I dig it. I don't think he's going to be hidden like Epstein. This is here's where, and you guys can disagree with me on this if you want. I know there's going to be politicians whose names pop up on these lists. There's no question in my mind. I think that that's something that we're going to see. Yeah. And we're going to see royals, and we're going to see titans of business, and we're going to see athletes. We already know about athletes, right? Tons of them from different sports. We're going to see a lot of really famous names that are going to be at least tangentially attached to this thing, not necessarily off doing the things that Diddy was doing. Hey, Kim Roy. Hey, Kat. But still filthy, right? We're going to see a ton of that. And there's going to be some politicians that are sprinkled in there. Hello, Alex. What I don't think you're going to see is the Epstein case, where it seemed like it was politicians, right? And then some non-politicians sprinkled in. I think that good to see you, Snake. I think that this with Diddy, it doesn't go. It's not one of those like 700 headed beasts. And I think that's what it was with Epstein. I really do. I think there were so many big name cats that had a vested interest in making sure that dude didn't talk. That's why he decided to no longer stick around. Right. That was the end. Blast from the past. Good to see you. But I'll tell you something, people, and I don't mind saying this. I know that other people don't, I don't mind saying this. Diddy's good for business. Diddy's good for business. I talked to about 25 people in the last 2 days who were trying to get sober, who didn't come over here because they wanted to hear about getting sober. Right? They came over here because they wanted to hear about this freak, and they listened to some stuff, and then I'll be damned, they caught a couple other videos, right? And people started, people started reaching out and saying, hey, what's this whole 5 thing? People, this is how it works, right? I'm telling you, we got a big bump off of the last scumbag, and we're going to get a really good bump off of this one. Robert Hall says, from what I have heard, I hope they go after Jay-Z as well. Well, it's funny you should say that. It's funny you should say that. I'm not sure how he can't end up in the middle of this, right? So this has been going on now. I don't know when I did my first video. I'm thinking probably before Christmas of last year, maybe even before Thanksgiving, or I don't know. It was pretty close to a year ago, So during the course of that time, do you know how many stories have come out about the 2 of those people? He's got, Carter. Sean Carter's got him an illegitimate kid that he had Diddy take care of. Like there's so many just twisted and crazy stories, and Beyonce's running this person off or trying to get this person whacked because there's some dirt, man. There's a lot of dirt on this. And Diddy's in the middle of it. He was a homeboy. They were going to his parties. There's pictures of Bebe a little too close to him. There's a lot of rumors that they shared more than music. You feel me? There's a lot of rumors that she had been intimate with Diddy. And it's friggin' terrifying, isn't it? But if you're the diddler and you're sitting up there right now, what else have you got? You don't have a card to play. You feel me? You have not got one card in your hand that you can throw down on the table at this point. He has got to be looking for an exit strategy. This is a pretty wild situation that he finds himself in. Hello, Danette McClure. Yeah, you're damn right. And Christy Hughes is damn right. Says there are a lot of people that are going to be losing sleep this evening. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think huge names are going to be coming out. This is something that we're going to see. I promise you it's something that we're going to see. Diddy tried to have Jamie Foxx knocked off. Allegedly, that is something I have heard as well, right? And I don't think anyone else. This is something that, boy, is this the truth, right? Tell me you're not stoked, right? Tell me you're not stoked to see the movie that this dude produces. He wants a documentary made about him, right? Did he do it? You've seen all of the stuff on this. Sensational Cinema, good to see you. Didn't he have one true friend that doesn't need him to say, what are you thinking, right? We all need that person, right? There's no question. This is why you build a group of 5 people that actually give a crap about you, right? Not yes men and women. Hey, Vixen, good to see you. Lisa from Jersey, what's happening? I have glasses on under these. You have my word. Krista Melinda, how are you? Tommy Bird, what's happening? Late night. A little late night boat. I had some appointments today that ran a whole lot later than I thought it was going to. Again, I had to reschedule my entire life today because of Surviving the Survivor. And I'll tell you what, I'll do that every single time Joel calls. I'll never turn that channel down. That is a great group of people. Every single time I'm on, honestly, I've only been on with one guest that wasn't fun to be on with. Every other guest I've ever been on that channel with, and I'll let y'all figure out who that is because it's kind of ironic. Tupac was told Diddy was behind that killing as well. You know what? Here's the deal with all of those people. Thank you so much, Robert Hall. He's turning people green. Hey, Miss Weenie Poo, good to see you. Wilfred Harry, what's happening? Hey, Rabbit Flea. Here's the thing. There's so much speculation that has been going around for so long. I do come down on the side of all of the people that say, how the hell did this take so long, right? For anybody. I realize it's really a twisted concept. Hey, Renee B. Hold on. Yeah, there you go. I appreciate this highlight on P. Diddy's. Yep. Here's the thing. This stuff pays. There's a lot of people that want to hear about it. And the reason they do is, and I believe this, Misbehaving, good to see you. Hey, Ree, I believe wholeheartedly. What's the story, Tori? I believe wholeheartedly that this case has driven the country crazy for the exact same reason that we're talking about, right? Everybody wants to know, how did this guy get away with this for decades, right? He's buying personal lubricant 1,000 bottles at a whack. What the hell? How has this gone on for as long as it has? These huge parties. Downs Mom, good to see you. These huge parties, right, that were, you remember the 90s, right? Like I wasn't incarcerated in the 90s. Life was pretty good in the 90s. But these parties made national news, right? Everybody and their brothers were talking about the Diddy parties. Cheryl Dow, good to see you. Thank you. I love Surviving the Survivor. We were just talking about that. It's as I was going to say earlier, and I kind of got sidetracked. Have you ever had one of those days where everything goes right? Like literally, because there are days where everything goes wrong. We always have those. This was one of those days where I got the call to go on that channel, and Becky, please do. This is one of those, this situation where I would, like I said, I'll jump to go on this channel. And he called me up on a subject that I've been researching for a lot longer than he has. And that's a rare thing on Surviving the Survivor. Normally Joel knows more about the subject matter than most of the people, at least the story, maybe not aspects of it as it relates to prison or aspects of it as it relates to attorneys or law, but the story he knows, sort of inside and out. And admittedly, this was one he didn't know a lot about. So it gave me an opportunity to talk a lot, which is always a good thing when you're on someone else's show. And then at the end, when he did the rapid fire, let's talk about all of the other things going on in true crime, he picked 4 subjects or 4 stories that I've been doing shows on. It was just one of those days where kind of everything went right. I think if I ever go back on a Friday show, I'm going to be a hell of a disappointment because I probably won't know something about everything they're talking about. But today it just happened to be one of those days. Rabbit Flea says it's an election year. All this abominable behavior known about is suddenly a thing. You know what? For real. And this is, that's a very interesting point. It really is. Believe this, it is a very, it's really a different thing to have a story like this moving through the press during an election year. I promise you it is. Human trafficking right now is a buzzword. There's been some films that really brought some attention to this. We just know that there's a lot more of this going on than we're not making headway, but at least a crap load of people are talking about it, right? And I think that, we keep talking about the FBI and how, thorough they are and this and that. This is a Homeland Security operation, right? Human trafficking, although the FBI works kind of, and I'm going to make angry all the people I go on channels with from the FBI, but they're more of like Homeland Security's running this show and they're kind of doing legwork, right? They need something chased down. They're going to send out the FBI to do it. But this case was being built by Homeland Security, and from my understanding is for a long time, right? They started working on this thing in like 2016. People, if you could see the hurt that that the government managed to put on me in about 6 months of investigation, I cannot imagine what they're going to have on Diddy. I had a friend, and you know what? I'll use his name because he straight doesn't care, and he's that cat, and he's a good dude. He's a very close friend of mine. I think he gets out in 2032. Really a solid guy. He's a criminal, make no mistake, but a stand-up cat on the inside, and a guy that was a friend that always had my back. His name was JC. They built the case against JC called Operation Deep End. You could probably look that up, actually. Operation Deep End, which was so perfect because this was a guy that went off the deep end, and they had an embedded undercover with him for like 9 months, really long time. And he had like 6,000 pages of discovery. 6,000 pages. You got any idea what the discovery on this case is going to be like? So you understand the concept of discovery, right, everybody? So you get busted and you go to jail and you hire an attorney, and the attorney takes the case. The prosecution has to hand over every bit of evidence they intend to use against your client, right? Now, normally, they're going to throw crap in there that they may not use, right? Doesn't mean that they can't, they want to use it, or if they can if they need to, or whatever. Gunther, good to see you. Good Lord. Good Lord. Terrifying, right? Terrifying. I don't even like thinking about it. I really don't, because there's a lot of weird stuff going on with all of those parties. But so you get hauled in there, they're going to have to hand over every single piece of evidence that they've got. That way, the defense doesn't go to court and go, what? This girl said what? And you got no way to defend it, right? The idea is the defense has the right to know everything you're going to say so they can rebut it. They can then do interviews with all of your witnesses, right, before the trial, but they have to hand all that info over. It's going to take a truck. I'm not being funny. It's going to take a truck to deliver the discovery to the defense, and how they're going to go through there. Somebody said today, this is the feds. It should be over in about 8 months. I'm going to tell you something. There is no way on God's green earth. A little perspective on that. I didn't want to keep talking on the show. I was starting to feel guilty. But if you get busted by the feds and you walk through the front door and your attorney walks in and you say to him, I don't want to fight this, man. Get me the best deal you can possibly get me. You're not leaving for 14 months, right? Trust me, I know. This is it. This is how this works. It's a long, drawn-out process. Even when you say to them, hey, man, I want to cut a deal. I want to do this. They're going to put your pleading guilty. The change of you have to go for a change of plea venue. You walk in and say, I intend to change my plea. They're not going to sentence you that day. They're going to go, okay, so now you're pleading guilty? Yeah, okay. Now you go back and you start what's called a pre-sentence investigation, right? A PSI. And now you're going to sit down with people who are going to ask you a crap load of questions. PSIs, I've done 2 of them. They take about 8 hours, right? They ask you every freaking question that they could possibly ask you, make up some really ridiculous crap just to see if they can get you to grit your teeth. Kelly Gerling, how are you? And it's hard not to. It's really hard not to lose your mind on them and say something stupid. The first time I did it with the woman that was about to be my wife sitting next to me, and it made it a hell of a lot easier. It really did. Having my my ex-wife, fiance or whatever at the time, sitting next to me, she did a really decent ability to chill me out. Board in Woodstock. We are talking about all things true crime, and my earlier stop off on the Surviving the Survivor channel earlier today, and the right now Diddy seems to be probably the most popular subject that people are talking about. Probably because the guy just really, talk about someone that had it coming, and the parallels between this case and the Epstein case, and the parallels between this case and R. Kelly. Like, there's a lot of really fascinating crap from a true crime standpoint with this case. And I think we go into a lot of these things in true crime. You go into like Danny Masterson, for instance. I don't think anybody thought that Masterson getting convicted was a lock, right? Had a ton of money, had a good attorney. The first case was was a hung jury. I think a lot of people, were concerned. I was concerned. I didn't think that was a lock. I really didn't. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is a lock. It really is. I mean, the only way that this guy, those 1,000 bottles of oil will be in discovery, pictures of them and all of that. Pictures of every single thing they took out of his house has to have a picture, a catalog number, all of that. And all of that, you have to get a copy of that in your discovery. A picture of and I'm telling you, people, my discovery was, 26, 27 inches off the ground, right? My friend JC's was 4 feet high twice. I can't freaking imagine what this Diddy thing is going to be like. For real, if they've been working on this since 2016, they're corroborating all of the stuff in basically most of the lawsuits. That's my theory. But like the FBI agent that I was on with today on Surviving the Survivor said, they did have a case. When they went and kicked that door in, they had enough to haul him in. But the mountain of crap. Now, this is a theory, and I like it. I haven't heard anyone else say it, but I really like it. Narcoleptic Chihuahua, good to see you. I think when they kicked the door in, they had intended to take him in on human trafficking, right? I really think that. But I think the RICO crap happened after they kicked the doors in. They found dope. They found guns. They found all kinds of stuff. Guns with obliterated serial numbers, right? Hey Shards, the defense of, hey man, I'm famous as hell, man. Obviously, I gotta have weapons around. I mean, there's a lot of people that are after me. You're a felon, right? I got news for you. You can't possess one. Doesn't work that way. Drayton, what's happening? Those alone, you realize, listen, straight up, felon in possession of a firearm, right? 912, I think, is the statute. United States 912. If the weapon has an obliterated serial number, if it was used in the commission of a crime or another felony, you get into the 924 statutes, right? These are crimes that put people away for 10 to 20 years, right? Plain and simple. He had 3, by the government's definition, automatic weapons, right? They had large capacity magazines, which you're not allowed to have, right? You can't have that. Trust me, I had problems with this, right? Those things, I know exactly what those bring for time because I had them, right? I got convicted on crap just like that. For real, those choppers he had, I had 2 ARs and I had an AK. Mine did not have obliterated serial numbers. And I remember my attorney at the time saying to me, please tell me every one of these things has got a serial number on it. And I'm like, yeah, they all got serial numbers on it. And he goes, oh, thank God. I mean, it is a big deal. And you know what? They're not even tripping on that. That didn't even get listed in the indictment. Leads you to believe they're not really worried about a measly 20 pack that they could throw on the top of this thing, right? Or a guaranteed 15 that he's got to bring him 13 years on. Diddy could be soulmates with R. Kelly. That's no joke. He really could. That's a possibility. Now, the federal system's massive, but you start paring it down like you can't walk a normal yard, all of a sudden it gets a little bit smaller. And the special needs yard you need is because you're super high profile, it gets a little bit smaller. He absolutely could end up there. Hey, Sandra. Why was Combs permitted to be walking around freely all of those months? Great question, right? And the reason it is because this guy had a history of being an epic nozzle, right? An asshat. They knew there's no way he could run. He has 2 jets that he had access to, and both of them were on straight running lockdown. You feel me? There was no way in hell this cat had any chance of going anywhere, and they were pretty confident of that. So what they decided to do instead was they decided to build a case, right? And very early on, he realized that it was his girlfriend's lawsuit that seemed to be paralleling a lot of the charges or the rumors coming out about what the charges were going to be. Feel me? Well, if that's the case, then you know everybody on that list, don't you? You know all of the people that they're going to call to ask about you. And then you're sitting there being the loser that you are and going, okay, so there was that time I brought those girls in there. There was the time I beat that woman there. He's thinking all of the stuff that's going to end up in that book of hers, right? End up in that. So what are the cases? I mean, what are the people he really has to worry about? And he started calling them, right? He started calling them and saying stuff like, hey, you just got to tell him that was consensual, right? For real. That one's already been leaked. And he was calling people and saying, if that was consensual, you're set, right? Like for the rest of your life, set. Well, that's really what they're worried about. They're not worried about this guy running. They're worried about the damage he's going to be able to do if they leave him out. Now, they left him out to prove who he was. That's what they did. They let him out so that when he got to court with all the money in the world and said, I'm not a bad guy, right? No reason why you shouldn't let me out. I'm offering $50 million bail. I'm offering a private security firm to watch me at my house, have a sign-in sheet at the door, no cell phone, no internet, no contact with anybody on the outside, and a camera in every room so that everybody can see what I'm doing, just to make sure I'm a good dude, right? That was his pitch. Then their comeback was, let me tell you what he's been doing since we kicked his door in, including freak-offs. Doesn't sound like a guy that's rehabilitated. Doesn't sound like a guy that's going to be allowed out either. Hold on one second. You know what? It's horrendous. Here's one of the problems that we have with our system, and it's getting better. It really is. It's getting better. But for a very long time, it's horrifying, the number of really mentally ill people in prison. And I know that most people who are going to hear this are going to go, everybody in prison's mentally ill, right? They didn't get to prison by being normal, right? These are bad men, and that's why they're in prison. I mean, I get that. I get the argument of that. I really do. Ann Hummingbird, good to see you. But like they will diagnose every person that walks through the door. I'm not exaggerating. Every one of you with antisocial personality disorder. Because if you weren't antisocial, right? If you could fit in with society, you'd be on the other side of the gate. I think that's a hump way to treat everybody. I really do. There are a lot of bad people in there, make no mistake. But there are people in there that get caught up, right? But it's sad. The people who are in there, not because they got caught up, or people who are genuinely evil people, but people who just suffer really, really badly from mental illness. And it's probably the most depressing thing about prison, honestly, because there were people in there that I even have a couple pictures of people that I brought home. Like I took these guys down on picture day with me and paid money to photograph with these guys who probably weren't the most popular dudes in the prison because they were very different, but they were people I didn't want to forget. You know, there was a kid in there. I've told the story on here before, but there was a kid in there that called the White House. And this was before Trump was elected president the first time. And he said that he was going to knock off the current president, who at the time was Obama, and he was going to take out the next one. This was right before, I mean, we already knew he was president, but he hadn't been sworn in. It was during that time from November to the second week in January or whatever. And he threatened to knock both of them off, and he got a prison sentence for it. And if you met this, I say kid, he was in his 20s, but if you met this man in the first 4 minutes that you met him, you'd go, he's not right. He's not a bad kid. He doesn't have a mean bone in his body, but he's not he's not all there, right? He's upstairs. He wasn't all there. And I just, every time I would see him, I'd think to myself, this guy doesn't need to be here. This is a waste of it's damage to this guy, and the institution's not better off for having him in there. It's just dangerous all the way around. Thank you, Elvon. I really appreciate that. Thank you. It's a kind thing to say. And I thank you for the support, the never-ending support. Actually, I really appreciate it. I wonder how much smaller the prison population would be if we had mental institutions run properly this time and serious efforts to curb and deal with addictions. Well, I'll tell you this. I could probably do the math for you. There's about 3 million people incarcerated in the United States at any given time, right? That's county jails, that's halfway houses, that's some form of incarceration, home arrest, all of it. We average about 3 million at any given time. My guess is it would be closer to 600,000 if you could just get the people out of there whose only problems are drugs. Because the statistics don't ever change. They say about 80% of the prison population is in there because of dope. Hey, Johnny Scoville, good to see you. And if that's the case, right, if 80% of the prison population is in there for dope, then it should be about 600,000 instead of 3 million. And I think that that's probably pretty friggin' realistic, if you want to know the truth. I really do. And as far as mental illness goes, mental illness comes in a couple of varieties. The boy I was just describing, we called Bobby Hill. And Bobby Hill was mentally ill. And it isn't even that he's mentally ill, because there's not going to be any pill they can give him. He's just different. And the ironic thing about him was, I think I've told the story before, but the first time I met him, he walked up and he goes, "What do they call you?" Like out of the blue. And people don't do that. People don't walk up and introduce themselves in prison. It's not really that kind of place, right? You meet your cellmate, and if your cellmate thinks you're worth a fart, he'll introduce you to some of the guys. But you don't just like walk around and go, "Hey, how you doing? Tommy just got here. Where are you from?" Isn't it? It's not a cocktail party. It's a prison. And this dude walks up to me. We were in a serious prison. This wasn't a low rent prison. We were at a higher custody level. What do they call you? And I said, "Rock." And he goes, all right. And he walked away. And I looked at the guy next to me and said, "What the hell is that?" And he goes, "Yeah, man, they call him Bobby Hill. Like he ain't right." But I would watch him, and he did it to everybody. He'd go up, and then one day I was walking to the chow hall, and it's about a quarter of a mile, right? It's a really long walk. And on the way there, you're hitting everybody that's coming back from other units. You don't live with any of these people, right? They live in other units. You run into them at yard time for maybe, 3 hours a week or something like that, but you don't see these people. And on the way by, he's saying hi to every single person by name, everybody, like didn't miss one. And later on in a card game, somebody tried to cheat at a card game. It got ugly because the kid was like, "That card's already been played." And there were other races playing, which is never a good thing anyway. And it got all heated, and a bunch of guys, thank God, like stood up and said, "No, man, you're not going to beat on Bobby Hill." And the truth of the matter was, if the kid said that card had been played, that card had been friggin' played. You know what I mean? Like his memory didn't make mistakes. He was touched. Wow, that's tough. And I forget this a lot because you've mentioned the background checks and all that, but Krista Melinda worked in a psych services at a federal women's prison for her counseling training. You talk about baptism by friggin' fire, huh? How was that? Tip 420, good to see you. General Boa, what's happening? Hey, Ann Hummingbird, good to see you. Catalina. Tommy, it was great to see you on STS this evening. As always, you add such high quality information to their program. Thanks for all you do. Squirrel treats. Well, she needs them. But, I'll tell you what, man, that cat, I got more video you guys will see in the next couple of days. But honestly, Squirrel has figured out that she's on YouTube. That may sound like the dumbest thing that any man has ever said, but I'm telling you, my cat has gotten so stupid since I started filming her. Marie, good to see you. I'm not kidding. Like she's elevated her dumb game to a level I don't think we've seen before. Becky USA, how are you? Miss G, good to see you. V McWilliams, there you are. It really and it's making for a lot of really fun content. But that cat's certifiably crazy. Johnny Scoville, are you still in here? Hey, look at that, huh? Look at that. Eh, Johnny knows what's up. This is my dad's watch, and because of the age of the watch, the band stretch on it was so bad that the watch was this close to just coming apart. Right, the head of a Rolex is bulletproof. The band falls apart real easy, and I've been wearing it on different straps forever. And I finally scored a 316 band for it. Almost impossible to find. Pat Kimbrell, good to see you. And this one has zero band stretch, new old stock. Naomi Hales, how are you? The crazy thing is that if I bought one of these things new from the company that made it, it would cost 5 times what the watch costs new for the band. They're a little out of control. They really are. Um, your late first husband blew up a TV and shot through 2 doors when he was delusional due to early onset Parkinson's. Good God. I had to force the police to have him taken in for evaluation. Do you have any idea how blessed he is that they didn't just blow him away? I mean, for real. There's a so in the federal system, if a guy makes it over the fence, right, he gets shot. They don't try to chase the guy down or play any of those games. They shoot him. And I've told the story before, but I was at a yard where they shot a dude, and the guy that does it gets hazardous duty pay, right? And I don't, you hear this stuff. The rumor at the time was it was 5K, right? $5,000, and then they put him on leave because they need counseling. So they get 90 days off and $5,000. 90 days off with pay and $5,000. So it doesn't pay, right? Now, in theory, you get a warning shot. They fire a warning shot, right? And then the bullhorn tells you to get on the ground. And if you do not, then the second one gets you. And the running joke among all inmates is that it usually goes like this: bang, boom, right? The warning shot usually goes off second, because $5,000 and 90 days off. It may sound crazy, but the attitude among a lot of people in there, and I don't blame them, by the way. I do not blame them, but there are a lot of corrections officers that have just had it. While I was at Victimville, I like to call it, in California, there were 2 corrections officers that took their own lives in the parking lot before shift, right? And I was in the shoe, so I was in the segregated housing unit at the time, which is the only unit that faces the parking lot. Now they spray paint the windows. Right? They don't want you looking at the parking lot. They don't want you seeing the license plates of any of the people that work there or anything. So they spray paint the windows. But you find yourself like looking out through little cracks and whatever, and it's you know I didn't see anybody in there that took any joy in that. Angie Mo, good to see you. Because in all honesty, you start feeling like you're doing time with these guys too. They disappear for 2 days, right? Because they get a weekend off or whatever. But then they're back, and these people are with you every single friggin' day. They're really not a whole lot different. It was a bummer. I think that they overwork the COs in the federal system viciously. Mary Stevens, did we all hear about Mo? I hope I'm not getting set up. Mary Stevens, I don't know who Mo is. Should I? Am I? Is this a brain thing? Should I know who that is? Helena Flock of Swan Boats, good to see you. Yeah. So, question: if you buy a watch as a female, which one would you suggest? It's gotten to the point right now where women don't buy women's watches anymore. If they do, they buy very, very large ones. So women seem to be wearing like 36 millimeter watches. So that's what all old watches for men up until say mid 90s, early 90s, that was pretty much the standard size for most watches. So if you look for anything made before 1990, you can get a lot of watch because they're older. You can get a lot of really good watch. Mo Love, what happened to Mo Love? Yeah, Rolex is a good one. Rolex is a great one, and you can get them. What's up with Mo Love? I'm lost. Yeah, I know Mo Love. What? Don't tell me something happened to Mo. Please, please don't tell me that. Good God, please don't tell me that. Mary Stevens, please tell me what's happening with Mo. No. Sorry, people. Sorry. This is one of the problems with the lifeboat. She killed what? Mary, you're not giving me a lot here. She killed. Holy hell. If you're trying to give me an ulcer, you're doing a hell of a job. Chase Hughes has posted an amazing update on brain disease. You know what, Rainy Day Girl? Absolutely, he has. And I want to thank you for pointing that out. I had a couple of people that sent me some links on that as well. It's yeah, it's a great video. I'm sorry, people. Yeah, I'm really, I'm having a bad time with this, babes. For real. This is, sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but this is, where did you see that, Mary? You know what, people? I'm going to sign off for obvious reasons. I need to go and look into this. All right. I'll see you on the next one, people. Between now and then, for God's sakes, try to save somebody.